Hey guys, what's going on? Megan here. All right, so making a response video to Craig's last video. And for those who don't know, I'm gonna keep this video respectful, like I mentioned in my post, because Craig commented and said that his original video against Nucleus Overload was not directed at me. He said it wasn't an attack. He said it wasn't a personal attack. It was directed at me. And that he actually mentioned that we actually agree on, certain things. So I was like, all right, so wouldn't make sense for me to just keep insulting if he claims that it wasn't directed at me. But here's my issue with that, though, is that he made a video and he used Nucleus Overload, which is the name of my program, the name that I coined. Now he claims that people blow it out of proportion, and that's what he was attacking. Well, the fact that he called it Nucleus Overload points to my program, not people's versions of it, but my program. That's my issue. Again, imagine I was a channel 7 times the size, and I go on his website and I take one of his products and I just not only bash it but misrepresent it. So imagine, so he has a cookbook, right? So imagine I take his cookbook and I throw the macros around and I replace the foods. Instead of chicken, I put freaking Pop Tarts and lollipops and a bunch of nonsense. And I make a video and I say, look, this is Greg's cookbook, right? Now I don't have to mention his name. Let's assume that he gave it a unique name. Let's say he calls it the ABC Anabolic Cookbook, and I make a video on the ABC Anabolic Cookbook. I misrepresent it completely, and then I say that, oh, this book is stupid, and if you buy it or if you use it, you're stupid as well, whatever. Well, I can't turn around and say, well, that wasn't directed at you. See what I mean? So my issue is not that he gave his opinion on Nucleus Overload, it's the fact that it wasn't Nucleus Overload he was describing. So I made my response video where I broke down every single part of Nucleus Overload, from the rep scheme, the set scheme, the frequency, and for every single part, I had a study to back it up, right? To back up that individual part. And at the end of the video, I put everything together with studies that back up the whole thing as a whole, right? But what Greg did is he took bits and pieces of a 50-minute video and he presented those individual parts as the whole thing.
You guys know me, like I hate the drama. I just stay in my corner. I'm a drama-free channel.
Yet he creates drama.
Okay, pause. So Craig initially makes a video where he bashes quote-unquote Nucleus Overload, which is not even Nucleus Overload. He bashes it, he attacks it, he says everyone who does this is stupid and morons and these guys are just trying to sell programs, which is 120% drama. I make a response where I throw back the insults, and then he says I'm the one creating drama. That's the equivalent of me walking up to a guy who says, hey, I'm nonviolent, I'm all for peace, and I smack him in the face, and when he smacks back, I say, I thought you were nonviolent. What the fuck? Where does that logic make sense? Again, I'm not going to allow you to misrepresent my work, misrepresent my stuff, right? And I respond. That's not happening.
So he starts off by saying I have confirmation bias. I'll tell you who has confirmation bias. Team3Dalpha. He, 6 years ago, has a video, and it says, NUCLEI Overload Training. He sells programs. He coaches people. He makes money by promoting this style of training.
All right, so he says that I have confirmation bias because I made videos about Nucleus Overload and, I sell a program on it and that. Well, here's the first thing. First of all, Nucleus Overload is free. Yep, Nucleus Overload is actually free. It's in the description of almost every video I have about it. I have a ton of videos on Nucleus Overload where I explain the rep scheme, the set scheme, every single thing about it. If you have a question about Nucleus Overload, it is impossible for you not to find it in my videos. In fact, I make too many videos about it, all of which are free. Now, my program is called HSP Training, right, which is my training program, and it uses a lot of the philosophies from Nucleus Overload. But guess what? That one was released last month. It was released last month, and I've been on YouTube for over 9 years. I've been talking about Nucleus Overload for over 9 years. So explain to me how, and I have plenty of opportunities to release a book earlier. In fact, if you look at the comments from my old videos, that's what everyone was asking. When are you going to release? When are you going to release this? And this is when the information was still free. People were asking for a program and a book on it in spite of the information being free. The next proof that I don't have confirmation bias, I have research and I've made videos on research that supports bro split trainings, push-pull, every kind of diet you could think about, intermittent fasting, carb backloading, counting macros, every topic that is proven to work, whether it's optimal or not. I have videos explaining those topics, recommending those topics, because I always preach that the best program is what works for you. So I make sure that I always give my subscribers every single side of the spectrum before I make a recommendation. Explain to me how that's confirmation bias. In fact, who do you think will have the most confirmation bias? Who has more to lose? So I lose nothing. My main source of income is stock trading. I trade options and stocks for a living. From the comfort of my home, self-employed.
He says you can't listen to my information because I got a degree, master's degree in kinesiology.
This part irritated me so much. So again, if you watch that video, I say most, and I use that word carefully. Notice I didn't. If you watch the video, I didn't say all people that have a degree shouldn't be listened to. I said look for the red flags, and I said look for the ego, the arrogance, right? Because, and I said most of the time, those people have confirmation bias, and they're not going to admit that they're wrong. And I even said in that video, not all of them. But he completely misrepresented that, twisted it around to his audience and said, you can say, don't listen to me because I have a master's degree. So the point I was making is that a degree in a field doesn't automatically mean that all of your information is correct. And that's why I said, look for some red flags. But he framed that as if I just said, fuck everything he says. Anyone that has a degree, don't listen to them.
So his argument is that you shouldn't listen to me because my information's outdated. His information is about financial information.
Okay, so here's another part where Greg completely twists what I said in that slide. In his original video against Nucleus Overload, he said that everyone who does that or promotes it is stupid and they're morons or whatever. So in my response video, I literally said that how can I be stupid if I was able to accumulate all these achievements? So that part of the video had nothing to do with fitness. But let's keep going.
Then listen to this logic. You shouldn't listen to LeBron James on how to play basketball, Usain Bolt on how to run.
Okay, oh my goodness, that's another part where he misrepresented and twisted everything that I said in that part. So this is the part of the video where I was explaining genetics. I was explaining that people that have very, very good genetics get results from breathing air, get results from drinking water. I'm obviously exaggerating, but you know what I mean. So almost everything they do works. And I said in the video that does not mean you should not listen to them. Go watch that video. Craig didn't mention that part, right? Because that part didn't fit his agenda, which was to make me look dumb. I said that doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to them, but take everything they say with a grain of salt. You have to factor in the genetics. And I gave the example of LeBron James because anyone who knows basketball knows that LeBron is a genetic freak of nature. The NFL was trying to get LeBron. This guy is 6'9", 6'8", 6'9", depending on who you ask, weighed up to 240 or 270 pounds at one point, has a 4.3 or 4.4 second 40-yard dash, and his vertical jump is like 39 or 40 inches. And he was good from a young age. Even he admits that his genetics helped him a lot. Go watch LeBron James play in high school. Looks like a grown man among kids. Does that mean that he doesn't know what he's talking about? Of course not. So if I want to learn how to shoot a basketball, I'd rather listen to someone like Steph Curry, who's an underdog, who actually didn't have the best genetics, and overcame the odds. Or I'm going to listen to somebody like Steve Kerr, who's a great shooter, but didn't have half the genetics of LeBron. That's the point I was making. Same thing with Phil Heath. Have you guys seen pictures of Phil Heath before he started bodybuilding? This guy was a monster. Phil Heath looked better while playing college basketball than most people look now on steroids. Again, does that mean that you shouldn't listen to him? Fuck no. It simply means that when you listen to him, take everything he says with a grain of salt, because what works for him might not work for you. That's the point that I was making in that video. And look how Craig just made it seem like I just said, don't listen to LeBron, don't listen to Usain Bolt. And then I mentioned Magnus Carlsen. Guys, Magnus Carlsen was a grandmaster, I believe at like age 12 or 13. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was like around 13. Grandmaster at fucking 13. So my point is not, don't listen to Magnus Carlsen. No, it's, remember, this guy's a prodigy. In fact, I don't know if you guys looked up some of his feats. This guy can play chess looking the other way against multiple opponents. There's videos on that where he's facing the other way and he's playing chess against multiple opponents at the same time. 99.9% of chess players can't even do that. So does that mean that his advice is invalid? No. It simply means take everything he says with a grain of salt because you just don't have those genetics. But look how bad Greg framed that argument. And listen carefully to what I said in that video. I said that does not mean you shouldn't listen. It means you should take everything they say with a grain of salt. But he left out the part where I actually gave him credit. Basketball is my number one sport, and right after that, you have bodybuilding. It's just something I like to watch. I'm never going to compete. I quit serious training 6 years ago to focus on my family and stock trading and my degrees, whatever. But I still love the sport because I grew up idolizing bodybuilders. And I realized I'm never going to go on steroids. I'm never going to go on a juice. I'm never going to compete. But it doesn't mean I should stop watching a sport. So I made the case that even though they're on steroids, they still have a work ethic and still have to work to get where they are. But notice how he skipped that. And I made it clear I'm a drama-free channel. But if you attack me, if you fuck with me, I will fight back. I don't care how big you are. You think I don't know how the dislike ratio works? It's based on percentages. And he even goes in my comments and he says, how do you like the dislike ratio? I couldn't care less because I know it's based on percentages. I have 50,000 subscribers, 53,000. If 1% of my subscribers are hardcore Team3Dalpha fanatics, that's only 500. If 1% of your subscribers are hardcore Greg followers, that's 3,000. That's instantly 3,000 dislikes right there. So the like to dislike ratio has nothing to do with who's right or who's wrong. It's just a matter of numbers. It's a numbers game. So I don't care if Craig had 10 million followers. You misrepresent me, you insult me, I'm striking back. But anyway.
Of course you should listen to them.
See? Notice again how he's saying, of course you should listen to them. As if I said, don't listen to them. I clearly said, you should still listen to them. But take everything they say with a grain of salt. In fact, here it is.
So, and of course, if someone has top tier genetics, or really good genetics, just be careful. I won't say don't listen to them, but just be careful because again, if you have good genetics, everything works, right? So yes, it's a good thing to listen to these guys, but take everything they say with a grain of salt.
You hear that, guys? So he blatantly lied about what I said.
I'm going to listen to Usain Bolt on how to sprint properly, train properly. Not a business degree guy. They did a Google search.
Again, listen to that logic. So according to Greg, unless you have a degree in something, you don't know anything about it? I'm 31 now. So I quit serious bodybuilding, serious training 5 years ago, right? Started focusing on stocks, way more money there. Started focusing on my daughter, my family, all that stuff, right? Now I just live recreationally. So I've been coaching people for 13 years, training for over 15 years. But because I don't have a degree in it, I don't know what I'm talking about. Guys, not everyone with a degree knows what they're talking about. That's just facts. And there are also people that I know who are incredibly smart, have 0 degrees. So that argument is horrible. But anyway, let's keep going. Now, this is the best part. This is one of the best parts of the video where Greg, he completely twisted everything I said in that part just to make it seem like I didn't read the study or had no clue what I was talking about. So here's the breakdown. I was explaining every component of nucleus overload, from how many reps you should do, how many sets you should do per day, meaning in one day. I moved on to how many sets you should do per week. If you watch the video, this is why I was talking about protein synthesis. I was talking about the ceiling for protein synthesis in a single workout, right? In a single workout session. And I was showing why in nucleus overload, I recommend just 5 sets per session per day, right? For one session. Because in his original video, he said it's 10 sets. And I was like, no, it's 5 sets. And here I'm going to show you guys why I chose 5 sets. And if you watch the slide right before that one, I specify that we're trying to find the ceiling for how many sets you should do in one day, in one session, to maximize hypertrophy. So I showed the German volume training study where one group did 5 sets, the other group did 10 sets. And that showed that hypertrophy peaks at 5 sets, meaning the group that did 10 sets did not grow more than the group that did 5 sets. And I'm comparing this on a one-day basis, a per-day basis. Not per day as in they're training every day. Per day as in the limit you could get from one day. In fact, look at the video. I said sets per session per day. If you have a workout session, there's no reason to do more than 5 sets. Because remember, this was a rebuttal to him saying that nucleus overload, these guys are doing 10 sets. So I'm saying, no, I don't prescribe 10 sets. I prescribe 5 sets because in one day, doing more than 5 sets will not give you any benefit. And then he twists that around and says, but they do it 3 times a week. That wasn't the context. He took the per day as in they did it every day. I never said that these guys did it every day. He forgets that the fact that they train 3 times per week doesn't change the fact that the daily volume, the max daily volume, where protein synthesis peaked, which is the point I was making, was 5 sets. So I'm making a distinction between ceiling per day versus ceiling per week. But look how he twists that.
Only it was done 3 times a week. He lied.
See? And that's the video, and that's the part of video that everyone just swallowed. And they were like, oh my God, how did he not see that? And they're giving him my channel. They were like, you didn't see that. It was 3 times per week. You see how easy it is for misinformation to spread? You see? All right, next one that he completely misrepresents.
Design, they found out that the muscle that got the most volume at the end of the week made the most progress.
So he's using this article to say that the conclusion was that more volume results in more muscle growth. I am right now training 3 times a week, my entire body, 3 to 5 sets per body part, exactly like they're doing this study.
What argument is he making here? That study was not about your way of training. That study is me defending my weekly volume recommendation.
So the next study.
Now watch this part. Oh, this one is so bad. So now that we finished volume per day recommendations, which was capped at 5 sets, and then we moved on to weekly volume recommendations, this is the part where I'm talking about frequency, where if 2 groups are doing the same amount of weekly volume, those doing higher frequency make slightly better gains. And I show a study that shows that if volume is equal in both groups, the group with the higher frequency performs better. And I say in the video, volume was equated because I'm making a case for high frequency. I mean, you can't compare a high frequency group and a low frequency group if they're doing different volume, right? It doesn't make sense. And that's why I literally say in that video, watch it, volume was equated. Now watch this.
But guess what? I just happened to read the study.
Watch this part.
And you know what? They did the exact same volume.
And listen to what I say.
Here they looked at rugby players. And they found out that not only with more frequency you have a better hormonal profile, right? They looked at the testosterone to cortisol ratio, but also the body composition favored the whole body group, even if you equate volume.
You hear that? Even if you equate volume. Because we're talking about frequency versus low frequency. So you have to equate volume. You can't not equate volume because that makes no sense. And I'm showing studies where volume are equal.
Next one. Same thing. Higher frequencies overall better. Well-trained man. By Bradley Gold. Results show significantly greater increases in form, blah, 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 with total over split.
See? Higher frequency group, lower frequency group, equal volume. See? And this is where I show another study on the same topic. And guess what? With equal volume.
Overall better. This was done by Zyroni, right? Look, total induced a significantly greater increase in muscle thickness. Trained fucking men. Next. And keep in mind, they're equating volume.
You heard that? See, I keep reminding the audience that, look, this is with equal volume, right? The first study, the second study, they're equating volume.
They did the exact same volume.
See? He's literally repeating what I said, but he's presenting it as if I said the opposite or I had no clue what I was talking about.
There's zero evidence that it supports that nuclei overload training is how to do it.
It's supporting higher frequency is better than lower frequency, and nucleus overload recommends higher frequency. So I don't see how that's zero evidence.
This is so easy.
And watch this part. This is another one. Oh, I'm getting tired. That Greg twists. High responders, people that grow faster from training, right, have a higher baseline content of myogenic thing. Pretty much they have higher nuclei content. For those who don't know, nuclei come from satellite cells, right? So your satellite cells, all they are is see them as pawns, sacrificial pawns. You know, their destiny is just to donate their nuclei, right? So if you have higher satellite cell count, you have higher nuclei because those satellite cells are going to fuse when you train. That's what happens. So this study shows that higher responders, people that just grow fast from training, are the ones with higher nuclei, total nuclei. Remember, that includes the nuclei in the muscle and the nuclei that obviously outside, which are the satellite cells. But watch how Greg ignores the satellite cells, which are literally, they have nuclei. That's what they're for. Their goal is to proliferate, fuse, donate, and some of them go back to being satellite cells. But he ignores the satellite cells and he just picks the nuclei. He says, oh, look, they had equal amount of nuclei. When the researchers themselves make it clear that those that had higher satellite cell content were able to make the best gains. And they had that higher potential at baseline, meaning before the study.
And they all had similar levels of nuclei at the start.
See, that's not the whole study. That's just one part. That's just the part where he's looking at the myonuclear number, which is the nuclei per fiber. But he's excluding the satellite cells, which are a huge part of the picture because they're the ones that are actually going to contribute the nuclei in the future. Satellite cells are right there around the muscle cell. And they're just nuclei carriers.
The people that had bigger muscles had more nuclei because they got bigger muscles.
Fact?
Nope. That's not what the study concluded. And it's right there, look. Individuals with a greater basal presence, meaning baseline means before the study, demonstrated with training a remarkable ability to expand the satellite cell pool, and there it goes, incorporate new nuclei and achieve robust growth.
Then he uses my quads as a way of defending himself and saying he does nuclear overload training.
See how he twisted that? All right, so notice the two things here. One, notice that he went from me saying that he did it in the past, right? Because that's exactly what I said in the video. I was referring to him doing it in his younger days. And two, notice how he's excluding the break part. Because in nucleus overload, you don't see the full potential until you take that break. And I even say, in all the nucleus overload videos, including the one he's responding to, that you have to take that break. If you build muscle while doing it, some do, if they manage recovery well, they increase their recovery. Some might not even grow while doing it. So for him to say that he's doing it now, his legs are shrinking, doesn't make any sense because you have to stop and detrain and then return to normal lifting to see the full potential. Any growth you put on during that period is a bonus. And I even explained that if you don't manage recovery well, so either too much volume or not enough recovery, as in like eating, sleeping, whatever, you might even lose size during that period. And I showed a study that showed that, where the participant actually lost size. But guess what? The satellite cells and the nuclei still activate. And when you take that break and you return to lifting, whether you return to nucleus overload again or you return to heavy lifting, which is actually recommend that you return to heavy lifting so you can actually see if it worked, your legs will grow much faster now than if you hadn't done nucleus overload. All right, guys, that's it. Again, this video was to clear out my name for the second time. The first time was to clear out what nucleus overload really was. But again, if it's true that this whole thing started from a misunderstanding, like Craig said, that he wasn't directing the original video at me, then if that's true, you can bash the real nucleus overload. I don't mind, as long as you don't misrepresent my program. And I'll also go ahead and do the same. I'll go to my response video and edit out all the insults or all the name calling, whatever. I'll delete all the negative comments that I posted, whatever, right? All right, guys, I'm out of here.